Okay guys, if you feel immobile, if you feel discomfort, if you feel pain, if you just feel disconnected in your body, then this video is for you. I'm going to go through 5 exercises that address 95% of common mobility issues. These issues that really show up with clients that come to me. And a lot of us have similar problems because we are living a very similar lifestyle. A lot of us are sitting down for 8 to 10 hours a day, hunched over a laptop, looking down at our phones. So these exercises, they're all going to have a progressive nature to them so that you can actually build strength and make the progress. You've probably heard me talking a lot about how stretching isn't really a long-term solution for mobility issues. We need to really teach the nervous system that it's safe to be in these new ranges, so strength work is incredibly valuable. A lot of these exercises also target multiple areas in one movement. For a lot of you guys, I know you're very busy people, so having that efficiency in your training is really, really vital. So it will be a follow along, so you can actually pause the video as you go, do the sets and reps, complete it, and then return to the video. Just bear in mind there is a superset at the start, so the first 2 exercises will be a superset. All right, let's jump into it. Guys, the first exercise is a lunge isometric. So for a lot of us, because we're sitting, our hips are in flexion, so our hip flexors get very tight. And we need to work on hip extension, which is basically moving the hip in the opposite direction. This is going to require us to activate our glutes and to really stretch the front of the thigh. So my favorite exercise for this is just holding a lunge position. But with this lunge position, we want to think about shifting the weight into the back leg. So as I drop the knee down to the floor, I'm really trying to put the weight in the back leg and I'm trying to keep my glute nice and engaged. And I want to have my knee just below my hip or even slightly behind my hip, but that way I'm actually working true hip extension. The feeling you want to find here is like you're pulling your feet towards each other. So if you really think about squeezing your feet in towards each other, you're going to get the pelvis tucking under, and really you're going to get a deep stretch into that thigh. And then we just want to be nice and upright with the chest, and we can just try and sink a little bit lower into this position. If your lumbar, so if your lower back is arching, if you're really extended like this, then just bring that foot slightly further forward and it'll be easier to get that tuck. And you can obviously progress by bringing your leg even further back. Really try and keep the glutes on, squeeze the feet together. You can progress this by taking weights. So I'll just grab weights from over here. So a really good way to progress this is you're just going to start with your knee on the floor, and then you're going to take hold of the 2 weights, and then you're just going to lift off the floor and then find that activation again, nice and upright with the chest, dropping that knee down to the floor. And that's really how we're going to build that strength, and that's a really good way to progressively overload the movement. I would suggest doing 10 seconds on each side, and then for each set, you want to do 2 reps. So you do 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10, and then 10 again. You could also just walk down a room, so you could just keep moving forward. Great, let's go to the next one. All right guys, the next exercise you're going to be supersetting with the isometric lunge, and this one is going to be on the rings, or you could use a bar, or you could use a tree branch, whatever you want, anything you can hang from. So we're going to go onto whatever you're using and then just hang, letting your arms fully relax, letting your shoulders relax. But we're also going to have a tuck here, and we're using that tuck to kind of work into the core, but then also work on getting that posterior pelvic tilt. So a lot of you that are sitting at a desk, you get very tight hip flexors, which kind of tips your pelvis forward and creates extension through the lower back. So we want to work on coming more into a posterior pelvic tilt, where we're tilting the pelvis in and up, and that's going to give us a lovely activation through the core. So not only are we getting that benefit of getting that decompression in the spine from the hang, we're also working the core, and we're also working on correcting that anterior pelvic tilt. So shoulders fully relaxed in that tuck position, and then we can just hold that, and we want to hold that for 20 seconds. So you're going to do that lunge position where you're getting the activation in the glutes and the hip flexors. As I said, 2 reps of 10 seconds on both sides. Then you're going to go to the rings, and you're going to do a 20-second hold with the knees in towards the chest. Now, some of you won't actually have the grip strength. Some of you are limited by grip strength, and if that's you, then just go onto a box and just get a bit of support from the feet. But we still want to focus on getting the core engaged and tucking under with the pelvis. And then the goal will be over time just to take more and more weight out the feet and into the hands. So maybe week 1, you've got 90% of your weight in your feet, and then by week 4, you have 20% of your weight in the feet, and then the week after, you're fully hanging. That's a really good way to progress it. All right, guys, let's go to the next exercise. Cool, guys. So the next exercise is really focused on strengthening where we've become weak from desk work. So from hunching over a laptop screen or an iPhone or just sitting down all day, we get very weak in our upper back muscles and all the muscles around the thoracic spine. And we also tend to go into internal rotation with our shoulders. So this exercise is going to address both. These are what I call external ring rows. So we're basically doing a row, but then we're pulling into external rotation with the shoulders. So this is great for strengthening those postural muscles, the muscles that hold us upright. A lot of people just stretch and just do the hangs. They have their value, but we also want to get that strength. So with these, you're simply just going to lean back, and then keeping your hands facing forwards, I want you to pull back, pull your hands out to the side, and then drive the elbows forward at the same time. So we want to try and think about finding like a 90-degree angle with the arms as we pull back. So I'll do some more. So I'm pulling to 90 degrees. Now I really want to avoid shrugging my shoulders. So I don't want my shoulders to come up like this. Think about elbows out to the side, driving the elbows forward and the hands back. And then your upper back and your mid back is really going to engage. You're going to get your lats engaging, your rotator cuff engaging really nicely. And what we can do is week on week or within a session, we can progress this by just walking the feet forward. So obviously it's going to be a lot harder if I'm all the way down here. And we can just keep going lower and lower. Equally, if you found the exercise too hard, you can just come into a more of an upright position. Okay, with these, we're going to go for 3 sets of 10, and there's no superset here. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, guys, for exercise 4, you're going to need something to elevate your heel. I've got a slant board here. You could use like a weight plate. You might have some sort of wedge or a book or a yoga block, whatever you've got, and then you're going to need to be elevated on a surface. And then we just want to place that heel so that we got the heel elevated. And this exercise is called ankle clocks. So we're essentially training strength and stability around the knee. And we're going to be working different points of a clock face. So we'll be working 12 o'clock, we'll be working 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And we're simply going to balance on one leg. Single leg balance is really important for longevity. And then we're just going to slightly bend the knee and we're just going to reach as though we're going on a 12 o'clock face. And then we're going to go to 9 o'clock, reaching out to the side. And then we're going to hinge slightly forward and we're going to go to 6 o'clock. And then we're going to go to the other side. This is the hardest one. And this is where we really get into the glute medius, which is really important for stability. When you do this, make sure your knee is tracking through the midline of the foot. We want to keep a little bit of weight in the heel, and then we want to think about having the big toe and the small toe pressing down into the box or whatever surface you're using. The progression here is going to be to just go a little bit deeper on each rep. So I'm really going to reach forward as I go to 12 o'clock. I'm really going to reach to the side as I go to 9 o'clock. I'm going to hinge more forward as I go to 6 o'clock and really reach back. And then I'm going to really go deep and out to the side on that 3 o'clock. If you get really, really deep, then you could start to progress it even further by holding on to a kettlebell. With this one, we're just going to do 2 sets, but we're going to do 3 rounds of each. So you'll do 12, 9, 6, 3, and you'll do that 3 times as 1 set. Take a rest in between, and then go again. Just 2 sets. Cool, guys. Let's go to the next exercise. Cool, guys. So the next exercise and the final exercise is the Cossack squat. This is a really important exercise for working your hip mobility, getting a stretch through the inner thigh, which is an area that people tend to ignore, and also working into the hamstrings. I did make a video on this, so if you want a full breakdown and if you want to see the progressions in a lot more depth, you can hit the link here to go to that video. But for now, one way to progress it is just going to be having the hands on a box or a surface, and then we're separating the feet and we're just bending over to one side. If your heel is lifting, that's absolutely fine. And we want to keep the foot forwards until we hit the end range. And then once we're in that end range, we're going to roll the foot back, and that's where the stretch goes more into the hamstring. So once again, we're using support, we're bending over to one side. If you need to lift your heel, that's fine. And then once we're in that end range, we're just going to roll the foot back, and then we go into the hamstrings. People train the Cossack in many different ways. For me, I like to maximize the range where we're getting a stretch through the inner thigh and only rotate at the end. Some people like to just go straight into that rotation, but if we want to really target both the hamstrings and the adductors, this is a really good way to do it. Once you're more confident, we can take the bench away, and then I would suggest holding on to a weight. So I'm just going to take this weight. So we just got pretty heavy weight, you'll probably want to start with just 4 kg, and then that's just going to help you to keep your body weight forwards. Again, maximizing that range with the foot forwards, rotating in the end position, trying to sink as low as possible, and coming back up. We want to try and find a nice upright posture as we do this, so we want to try and avoid collapsing. Obviously, when you're using the supported position, you're naturally going to be a little bit more rounded with your spine, but as you progress, try and stay more upright, and that just really challenges the hips, the hip rotation. It gets your feet, your knees, and your hips working simultaneously. Things start to reconnect a little bit more. This is a lateral movement. Generally in day-to-day life, especially with office workers, we tend to keep things very front and back, so it's really important to get more lateral movements involved. With this one, we want to do 12 reps, so we're going to do 6 on each side, and we'll do 3 sets. I would suggest always warming up with support, so whether that's the bench or a box, or you could even hold onto a band. And then in those next 2 sets, you could either go body weight or you could add weight and start to load the movement up. If you find your heels are lifting again and again and again, then just use a wedge or a weight plate to elevate the heels. Cool guys, that's all the exercises done. Hopefully this routine has got you feeling less stiff and more connected in your body. A lot of these exercises have a progressive nature to them, so you could stay with these exercises and just increase the load or increase the difficulty week on week. You could stay with this routine forever, and it's going to keep you mobile and connected. If you're looking for more of a personalized approach, I do offer one-to-one coaching. You can find the link in the caption below. Also guys, let me know how you got on with this routine in the comments. I'd love to know. Thanks so much guys, and I'll see you on the next video.